descendant to Jericho soon. Camel dust heralds our arrival. New Christ.
The question, even as poorly as it was phrased, addresses how do you think, for example, the earth formed, or life progressed? And even if the answer was, I don't have a clue, even if we didn't have a scientific explanation, the explanation that you believe, that there's a magic man who done it all, does not become more plausible. You have to actually provide evidence for that. It's not the default position. It's not a position. It doesn't answer anything. It has no explanatory power. It's a non-answer. Yeah. So when you ask something like, I think you just think science did it. No, science isn't a person. It's not a thing. It's not a do. It couldn't possibly do anything. Science is the label that we put on a process. The process by which we exercise reason, evidence, and testing in order to determine the nature of the reality in which we exist. And it is the single most reliable, consistently reliable method for discerning fact from fiction that we've ever discovered and potentially could ever discover. As a matter of fact, if you had a new method that you thought would be better, you'd have to use science to prove that the new method was better.
Right, but before you even get there, right, before you even get to just this understanding of science and the scientific method and how it works and how we establish facts about the world, our caller's problem was that I think he had, in a very general sense, just poor thinking skills to begin with. And this, I think, is, whether it's a failure of his education or upbringing, what have you, and I'm not sitting here beating up on the guy when he's not there to defend himself. This is a problem that I see so often in talking to believers in the first place. There's a certain kind of believer who will just start throwing stuff out.
Yeah.
They can't form a coherent thought. They haven't even thought about it in the first place. They haven't established, okay, here's my premise.
Look at all the stuff that's happening. Oh,
Yeah.
you don't believe in good and evil. Oh, you think all this came in.
Yeah.
Which way do I dodge? You know, which?
Right. He hasn't really learned how to form ideas. He hasn't learned how it is that he even understands or can understand the things that he thinks he believes. I mean, he was being contradictory all over the place from the get-go. Well, I'm not really sure I believe in God, and I don't go to church or anything, but look at all this stuff that the Bible says is happening and is true. Well, what is happening? Oh, well, it's everything that's happening right now. You know, it was just a big, big salad. It was a huge mess, and this is what you confront many, many times when you're talking with people who have this fundamentalist mindset, is basic thinking skills aren't developed. You got to kind of start there before you decide you want to challenge people, present your opinions, if you haven't even got an opinion to present or know how to present it. Jeez.
One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute who sits on many waters.
Muhammad's comforting me.
With her the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with wine of her adulterers. Then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a desert. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. When you get a picture of it, call back.
Yeah.
You know, go read the book. I mean, you do. Actually, I was going to say you do know, but obviously
really
you don't know.
Callers who I'm sure probably very intelligent. I know.
Hang on.
I know.
You do know, is what I was going to say, but you actually don't. Revelation almost didn't even get into the Bible, because when it came time to vote on which book should be in there, some of the guys said, hello, this sounds like the ravings of a lunatic.
Yeah, that's right. It was, what, 200 years worth of ecclesiastical debates and editing before we ended up getting to the New Testament canon we have now.
Yeah.
It wasn't until nearly the year 400.
325.
325? Okay, I thought it was 390.
No, I see it was
Whatever.
325. But anyway.
All right.
So we've got Christopher in Bloomington, Indiana.
Thank you for waiting.
Yeah.
Thanks for waiting.
Hey, what's up? I have like 2 quick questions. Don't worry, they're really quick. But I wanted to make a note real quick. I wonder if you guys have heard about this too. The guy who wrote the Book of Revelations was named John of Patmos, and the island of Patmos is known for mushrooms.
Yeah. Yeah, except that we don't know for sure that it was John of Patmos that wrote it. But, I mean, that is one possible.
Let's just say the shrooms thing would not surprise us.
You wouldn't shock me that much.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you kind of think of it with that in mind, when you go back and read it, it's like, oh my gosh, this guy was tripping.
Yeah. Well, also there's he could have just been nuts.
Yeah.
You know, Revelation could have been written by several sources, and I think it is the thinking of a great many biblical scholars that the writer of Revelation, or writers, or whoever he or they were, whether they were nuts or not, We're writing about current events, more or less, in this sort of vague, strange, symbol-heavy commentary. I've been told that it's the thinking that the 666, the Antichrist, was specifically referring to Vespasian, I believe, the Emperor
Caesar.
Vespasian.
No, I think it was Nero.
I've heard Nero. I've heard
all of them.
I've heard Nero and Vespasian. But the long and short of it is that this is some sort of bizarre, symbol-laden current events commentary that was going on there. And
the problem with interpreting weird symbols and weird, vague passages is,
Yeah.
guess what? They can say whatever you want them to say, whenever you want them to say it. Well, what did you call it?
Ever haunted on the job. Now maybe 70 Jericho.